Hello. It looks like I'm going to have to re-record Genesis chapter 4, verse 1 till 16. I don't know what happened. I recorded it, I uploaded it onto YouTube, but for some reason it failed. And I already deleted the file, so I'm going to re-record it now. So verse 1 says, "Now Adam knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord." And then it continues, "And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. In the course of time Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell." Apparently there is this many think incorrectly that the reason God didn't accept Cain's offering was that he didn't bring animal, but animal sacrifice wasn't instituted yet as such. And the other thing is the word that they used in both cases was the same, which was mina. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, mincha probably, knowing it's Hebrew. But it had the same word used for grain offering, which means God would have accepted fruits, vegetables, or even animals. So it wasn't the case that his sacrifice was acceptable because of what it was. We're going to learn now what the reason was. So verse 6 continues, "The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it." So you see, as God asks the questions, why are you angry? What is your problem? And he says, if you do well, will you not be accepted? So it wasn't that he didn't do well because he brought as a sacrifice things, he had more access, shall we say. But he says, no, he was sinful. There was something in his heart. And he said, the desire is contrary to you. So what the sinful nature desires is not what God desires for us, because it's not beneficial for us to be sinning. And I came to realize it the other day as I was thinking about it, that I'm sort of starting to understand that even though there are things in life which I wish weren't sinful, because it would be easier to evangelize in certain groups of people, and it would be easier to spread the gospel. But at the same time, you're sort of starting to get a grasp of why God sees things that are sinful, that there is a reason behind it. And you always understand there is a reason, but if you look at the book of James is talking about in chapter 1 about let our faith to be manifested in actions. He wants us to live out our faith, and he wants us to behave in a certain way. And it's not just about behaving. If you do something in a certain way because that is the thing to do, but with the grinding of your teeth, and the only reason I'm gonna do this is because God requires me to do it. That's religion. You're not doing these things to please the Lord, or because you're in a relationship with him. And even in the Old Testament, I came to realize it when I did a research paper on the Mosaic covenant, that God always wanted a relationship with his people. It wasn't about, oh yeah, you do these things and I'm gonna love you. No, God said that I love you, and you should love me as well. And the outworking of your love is that you keep the commands, and you do it because you love me, not because you're afraid of the consequences, if you will. So we have to be careful of sin, because it really is against our best interest. Verse 8, Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" He said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And the Lord said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on earth." So if you return to verse 8, you could see that it was a premeditated murder. It wasn't committed in the heat of the moment. He literally had let sin overtake him, and he actually desired to kill him. And although I read somewhere once that somebody proposed the question, but did Cain actually know that by attacking his brother in a certain way he's going to kill him? But Abel produced animal sacrifices, and surely he must have had an understanding of how injuries work and how you kill an animal, because he must have seen his brother doing it. And by this time they probably ate meat as well, because one of the idea was of the sacrifice, that you sacrificed an animal. But especially you see it in the covenants, the Mosaic covenant, that you could actually eat from it. Even Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians, that those who serve at the altar share in the sacrificial offering. So he must have had an understanding of what happens when you injure someone. But see, talking about the curse, it's like the curse again, which we learned in Genesis 3 when God cursed the land. And again, he curses the land. And again, we talked about how cursing doesn't necessarily mean to curse as in pronouncing on them a curse and then something horrible happens, but it's like God removes himself and his blessing from the land in this case. Verse 13 continues, Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." So he's not sorry for what he did. He's sort of sorry that he got caught, and I think it's sort of a narcissistic mentality if you think about it, because I think narcissists are the ones who thinks that they are the ones to whom the bad thing happens. They are the ones who we should feel sorry for. I just can't remember the word. Hold on. Anyway, that is the problem. And the other thing is, if you look at Paul thinks that the original sin is from Adam and Eve. And I know, which means it sort of sounds like everybody is descended from Adam and Eve. And I got the word, that the people, these narcissists think that they are the victims. Oh, that took me a while to remember that word. And this sort of victim mentality. And in many cases you see that when somebody is sinning or doing something sinful, we tend to have this sort of victim mentality to get others to feel sorry for us, so as to soften the blow of our responsibilities in a given situation. And again, Paul seems to suggest that the original sin is from Adam and Eve. Therefore, because we are inheritors of the original sin, we are descended from Adam and Eve. And I read articles, scientific articles. I remember there was some sort of study published where they say that they can trace back the DNA to a single woman. And there was a big uproar in the scientific community, because they said that, but that would mean that we are literally descended from a single woman. Take it as you will. Verse 16, then the Lord said to him, not so, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest any who found him should attack him. So I remember reading that the mark, what the mark of Cain was, and some reckon that it had to do with him building a city, because that would have served as a refuge, the place of refuge. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually, that it was a city. But then again, could God have put something on Cain that would have attacked anyone, or would have stopped anyone attacking him? It's possible, although how would they have known about the vengeance of sevenfold unless it really was a city of refuge, and then Cain would have been able to defend it, and they would have been able to overpower the enemy. Anyway, I think the most important thing is we have to be careful about how we look at sin, because our desire should be to be loved by God, and it Paul says in 1 Corinthians, he who knows God is loved by God, not to sort of appear religious and do things so that our actions would seem that we are right by God and we're doing the right things, because we should be accepted by God, not the people around us, or we should be regarded as righteous by God, not people should think that we are righteous, because that's not the case in many cases. Because I often think about it. I remember reading this somewhere that the author said that you could appear, and I think it was A.W. Tozer, he said that you could appear religious, you could have the right behavior, you could appear to have a genuine religious experience, but if you don't have the faith, if you put your faith in the wrong things, that religious experience isn't genuine. It's just something that you yourself sort of imagine. So we have to have a proper relationship with God so as to be accepted. Amen.